A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. I did a video a few days ago, maybe longer than that now, but I did a video about gun control, and I mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. And I questioned whether or not we could trust her newfound appreciation for the Second Amendment. I still don't believe her, but she's trying to burnish her Second Amendment bona fides. So let's get after it. Now, I admit, she is very well spoken. She talks a great game. And if you're not familiar with her history in Congress or on the campaign trail, or if you have never perused her presidential campaign website, you might be inclined to believe what she's saying. She comes off as very sincere. But it's what I like to call the pretty people rule. Now, I know that just elicited a ton of reaction from a lot of people, but bear with me. We're all adults here. Let me explain. Whether you want to admit it or not, Tulsi Gabbard is attractive. And people are more inclined to give people who are pleasant to look at more of a benefit of the doubt than someone who is less pleasant to look at. I don't think that anyone who's honest with themselves can really dispute that. And you can at me all you want. You can, I know, like I said, I had the same reaction when I first heard it. And I first heard it when I moved here to Texas and heard a radio personality. I forget who it was at this point. It's been a long time. But I heard this person talk about that, and I said the same thing. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. But the more he explained it, and the more I thought about it, I realized that there is a grain of truth to it. Now, he went on for a while about it, and there were some things he said that I completely didn't agree with, even after I thought about it. But I realized that there is some truth to it. It's not an absolute, it's not a hard and fast rule, but I believe that there is some truth to that statement, or to that rule. And think about it. Just think about it for a second. If Tulsi Gabbard looked like this, there would be far fewer conservatives on her bandwagon. Now, maybe there is a chance. There is a chance that she really is sincere, and she really did have a change of heart, and really does have a staunch appreciation and is supportive of the Second Amendment. We'll see. But like I said in that other video, it's going to take more than a few Instagram posts and some fancy words about how she wants to protect our right, wants to protect our right to keep and bear arms. It's going to take a lot more than those posts and a few words to convince me. Now, recently she did an episode, she has a podcast, and she recently did an episode of her show where she had Steve Scalise on as a guest. And Steve Scalise, I'm sure you remember, back in 2017, he was shot during the practice for the annual congressional baseball game. And Steve Scalise, Representative Scalise, has always been a really strong advocate for the Second Amendment, and continued to be even after he was shot. Some people have been supporters of the Second Amendment, gotten shot or had family members shot, and completely reversed course. And in those instances, it's somewhat understandable, I guess, given that type of trauma. But Steve Scalise, he stayed true to his core beliefs and has still been a strong advocate for the Second Amendment. And if you weren't paying attention to everything that she said during that episode, again, you might be inclined to believe her. Now, for the bulk of that episode, well, for the time that Steve Scalise was on, it was a mutual admiration love fest because apparently, despite being on opposite sides of the aisle while she was in Congress, they are really good friends. And good for them. Great for them. Justice Scalia and Justice Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they were apparently really good friends despite their polar opposite ideologies. So it can happen. But they were from a different time, and I think Scalise and Gabbard are anomalies in this day and age. But nevertheless, before she introduced Scalise, she was talking about her experiences on the campaign trail and her experiences before she got into Congress. And she talked about an episode that she had where there was a stalker who was threatening her, and it was a credible threat to her life. And she talked about her experience trying to get a gun permit, a permit to carry a firearm in Hawaii.
Our Constitution makes clear that we have an inherent God-given right to protect ourselves, which is the basis for that ruling in New York. That New York law being challenged required its citizens to show proper cause to obtain a concealed carry license. And this vaguely defined standard of proper cause, as you can imagine, empowered the government officials in your home, state, or community to decide whether or not you deserve to exercise your Second Amendment right. Now, Hawaii's had similar laws. They're in the process of changing directly because of that Supreme Court ruling on the case with New York. But a few years ago, I had a credible threat on my life. There was someone who was stalking me, who was threatening to cut off my head with a sword. Our local police were tracking the case, were helping with security. I was serving on the city council and then in Congress at the time. And given there was a very credible threat on my life, and our state laws, similar to New York, requiring probable cause for a concealed carry permit to be issued, before going through the whole process of filing the application, which you could do, I asked a senior leader at our local police department, hey, if I'm going to go through all this trouble and apply for a concealed carry permit for the purposes of self-defense, given a credible threat that the police were very, very familiar with, would it be approved? He said immediately, no, it won't. He said, you can apply, but I'm telling you it won't because it never is. It's up to them. They make the decision. And in this case, they never found probable cause for anyone.
Now, this is why I have a hard time buying what she's selling right now. Because this episode with the stalker and the threat on her life started before she got to Congress and was still going on as she entered Congress. But despite that, once she got there, she was still as big a gun grabber as there was in Congress. Now, you would think, given this experience, given her inability to get a permit to protect herself, which obviously to me is ridiculous, but given that experience where she was denied a permit to carry a firearm so that she could protect herself, given that there was a credible threat, you would think that that would have gotten her on our side. But no. But now all of a sudden she's parted ways with the leftist Democrats, and now all of a sudden she is a staunch advocate for our right to keep and bear arms. I'm not buying it, not yet. Now, again, as I've said before, maybe she's sincere. There is a possibility she's sincere, and I understand that. Maybe she really did have a huge change of heart, and everything that she's saying right now is absolutely true. And maybe in a year or two or three, we will be able to count her as one of our strongest Second Amendment advocates and allies. Maybe, but we're not there yet. So her apparent she's apparently had an evolution, as the left likes to call it, when people flip flop. Maybe it's sincere, maybe it's not, but I'm 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 still skeptical, and I know a lot of people in this space are skeptical. There are a lot of people who are willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, like I said, the pretty people rule, but I'm not there. I'm not there yet. But anyway, that's all I got for you right now. Please comment down below. I would love to hear what you think. If you watched that episode of her show, was it enough to convince you? If so, comment down below, and maybe you can convince me. I doubt it, but we'll see. I'm willing to listen. But if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and share this video out, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube. Now, before I go, I wanted to remind everybody that there are a couple of ways that you can support the channel now. We have merch, and we're on Patreon. The merch is hosted right now on carrygirlgear.com. That is my wife's store. So guys, when you go get your Liberty Cast merch, pick up something for your wife or your girlfriend as well. They will appreciate it, and so will we. Anyway, folks, that's it. As always, it is crucial that you keep your head on a swivel so that you keep you, your family, your friends, your community safe. Do that, and we'll see you next time right here on the Liberty Cast.